Greetings, class. Today we're going to begin our study of science by doing our introductory unit, which is really about the science of biology. But I also like to call it Introduction to Science, because we're going to talk about what science is. And it's a hard word to define science. It's like other words like engineering or robotics, things I talk about in some of my other classes. It's easy to see a robot. It's easy to see something that's engineered. It's probably easy to recognize science, like when you look at this young man in the picture here, but it's hard to come up with a definition of what science truly is. We know when we see science, but what does it mean? So what is science? If you were to look it up in the dictionary, you'd probably find some definition like this. It's an organized way of gathering and analyzing evidence about the natural world. But science also means having knowledge. And you could attach that word to many different things. You could have library science, which means you would have knowledge of library stuff. You could attach it to, say, agriculture science, meaning you have knowledge about the field of agriculture. But what is the purpose of science, really? Science is about providing natural explanations for events in the world. It's not about magic and voodoo and witchcraft. It's about actually trying to make sense of this incredible world that we live in. And as scientists have studied the world, they've been able to use this knowledge they've acquired to recognize patterns, create explanations, and use this understanding that we've gathered to make predictions about natural events, such as the eclipse this past week. One of the greatest examples I can think of is the forecasting of hurricanes. If you look at this typical cone of the track of a hurricane, you can see today, in 2017, the cone predicts out 5 days. That's a huge amount of time to predict the path of something so unpredictable as a hurricane. But because of science, we've been able to learn so much about the behavior of hurricanes. Just look how precise that this map is and the predictions. You can see very clearly 5 days out that meteorologists at the Hurricane Center are quite confident that this hurricane would be somewhere within the vicinity of Florida. But that wasn't always true. Once upon a time, people were surprised by hurricanes. I mean, the weather's beautiful one day, the next day there's a hurricane on top of them. But it's not even that long ago that the forecasting of hurricanes was quite tricky. Turn back the time machine approximately 25 years this week to Hurricane Andrew. Look at this cone. Look how ridiculous it looks. Only 3 days. That's only 25 years ago. Scientists were only able to predict out 3 days. And look at the amount of uncertainty that 3 days out gives you. Compare 3 days out to modern. So you're talking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into Saturday. Look how narrow the band is. Look how precise scientists can be now. But look, 25 years ago, the cone covers almost the entire United States. But through the study of science, we've been able to gather so much information. We're able to make absolutely incredible predictions today, which are so important to protect life and property. I'd like to conclude this first lesson by showing a short video about what is science. And then when we meet again, we'll start talking about how scientists do what they do. What's the difference between an observation and an inference? Some of the most important tools that scientists have.
Emerald Robinson, and in this What Is video, we're going to try to pinpoint an answer to the question, what is science? Science can be defined as the process of observing and questioning the world around us. We also sometimes call the things we learn through experimentation science. In fact, the term science itself comes from a Latin word that means knowledge, and the names of many branches of science end with ology, which means study of in Greek. Scientists aim to gain new knowledge through a disciplined set of steps called the scientific method. The scientific method consists of asking a question, proposing a possible solution called a hypothesis, testing the hypothesis through a series of experiments, examining the results of the experiments to see if the hypothesis has been supported or refuted, and then proposing a new question or a new hypothesis. Scientists can specialize in one of hundreds of different fields, all which focus on different types of knowledge. For example, physical sciences like chemistry and physics examine the laws of nature. They're considered to be the fundamental sciences because everything in the universe obeys these natural laws. Astronomers, physicists, and engineers studied physical sciences. Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, and Marie Curie were physical scientists. Scientists in life sciences like evolution, microbiology, and zoology study anything living. Medicine is also considered to be a life science. Charles Darwin and Rachel Carson are two well-known biologists. Social scientists, who take jobs in fields such as psychology, sociology, and anthropology, study humans and human behavior. Sigmund Freud and Margaret Mead were both social scientists. Science never ends. Every day, scientists make new discoveries and answer new questions. But there are always new mysteries to uncover and problems to solve.
For thousands of how-to and advice videos on any topic, visit monkeysee.com.